Welcome to RTA Motorsports.
Hello everyone and welcome. Crash here. This is RTA Motorsports and we just tried this stream a moment ago. Well, a little bit longer than a moment ago, a little while ago, and we had issues with actually getting it running, and we discovered a few things along the way. Did a lot of testing and tuning trying to get this all to work, and I think we figured out what's going on. So if you are a Windows mixed reality user like us, use Steam VR, Assetto Corsa Competizione. I don't know if this has to do with the Vive at all, but with the Windows mixed reality headset, the Samsung Odyssey that we're using, we could not get it to launch in VR mode with the Steam Home Beta. Not the experience, but the home screen menu. If you have Steam Home Beta running as your compositor every time you log into Steam VR, for us, it was not working at all. The game kept auto crashing, and actually, I couldn't even turn on Assetto Corsa Competizione out of VR with Steam Home Beta running at all. So I had to deselect it. I had to not, reinstall Steam VR or anything like that. It just had to make sure that we weren't launching in that compositor every time we were running into Assetto Corsa Competizione. It would just crash either way. So we shut that off. We're running just the base compositor on Steam VR. Nothing from the Steam Lab or anything like that anyone has made. No, background pictures or anything like that. And it seems to now launch. Then the second issue we had was the menu system was actually off of our screen, which was very weird. And what do I mean by that? Pretty much what was happening was we would launch in Steam VR. I mean, not Steam VR. We were launching Assetto Corsa Competizione, and the menu would be directly below us, like through the ground. And as you can see here, well, actually, you can't see quite yet. We haven't turned it on yet. But whenever we were in a title, normally you would have the menu right in front of you, and you could look around the menu. With Assetto Corsa Competizione, I'm sure it's because it's an early access. The menu was directly below us through the ground, and we couldn't see it, couldn't read it. I had to lean my head back just to get an idea of what I might be clicking on. And that also went for the HUD system and everything. So they actually, on their Steam page, they gave us a directory to go to in our documents. You go to documents, you go to Assetto Corsa Competizione, you go to config, and then you could open the .json file for VR settings, and you could adjust tweaks from there. So I'm just going to let you know what I'm using right now, and it's not perfect, but if you're in the same situation as me, this may work for you. For main menu distance layer, we're using 150. Main menu layer type 2. Now, the layer types, I put them all on 2, and they move with your head, which is not ideal normally for me. They're always stuck to your field of view, but that was the only way to get it from being directly underneath you. And that also goes to the in-car hub, was actually through the car into the ground, so I couldn't even see that. The race menu layer distance is 75 with, again, layer type 2, and the HUD layer distance I put at 50, which is not quite ideal, but it works. HUD layer type, again, 2, and that actually, again, locks it to your HMD, so you're not missing out on what's going on through your menus. You could actually see them. So that's kind of what's going on there. That's kind of how we kind of gotten this to work at the moment. And yeah, we're going to jump into some practice. I know the Bentley Continental GT is actually now here, as well as the Lamborghini that we've been using since launch. Well, since the beta release, since the early access release. And yeah, so we're going to jump into it and see how everything works. See how everything sounds. Another weird thing that I noticed with my capture card, a little bit of a conflict, is every time I would launch Assetto Corsa Competizione, I would lose audio out to my capture card to OBS, and I would have to restart OBS every time I launch Assetto Corsa Competizione. If we got out and back in, I would have to relaunch OBS, or else I wouldn't be able to get audio just from this title, which was weird, because still on our gaming PC, we could still get audio otherwise on that computer, just not ACC. For some odd reason, I would have to, on the streaming PC, restart OBS. Kind of like a weird conflict there. That's, you know, no big deal, but all right. So we're going to jump into it, and we'll see how it works out. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that the audio is going to be just fine. But we'll check on that as time goes on. Interestingly enough, wow, that is strange. So you guys can't see it for some odd and strange reason, but I can see it. The menus. So that may or may not be a problem for you all. I'm sure none of you really care about seeing the menus too much. But it's tracing after my head. Let me actually see. No, it's like not visible to you guys at all. All you're seeing is the background. That is strange. Okay. But I can see him here, which kind of is what matters most. So that way we can get into things. And the other weird thing about using Layer 2 for all these menu systems is that it's kind of hard to tell what you're clicking on, in a way. Right now I'm just setting a practice session up so that way we can I'm just going to go with Nürburgring, Germany. I just want to see how it looks with the track that we have already been using, but now in VR. And of course we have motion going, we have motion tracking. So that's all working pretty darn well. Yeah, you guys are not able to see any of these menus. That's a little weird. So we're actually right now on top of the car. Let's see if we could. There we go. All right. And I can see my HUD pretty good. It's a little bit of a distance away, but unfortunately you guys can't see my HUD. So it's actually making it look more simulator-like. You guys are not seeing a HUD at all. Where did my other glove go? Oh, I see it. All right. Well, thank you all for joining in. The volume looks like it's pretty appropriate. Get the gloves on and we'll get going. So far, everything looks pretty good. I'm not liking the menu or the HUD kind of moving with my head. It's almost like the HUD is being projected from the headset. I mean, from within like a race helmet, which I guess could be cool if you think about it that way. But any little head movements, it moves, so it's kind of like hard to read it because my head moves a lot, or if the headset shakes on my head, it's like a wobbly mess, and it's kind of hard to read it otherwise. But yeah, it's all right. We'll get used to it. So far, everything seems to be pretty smooth. There's a little bit of texture mapping going on pretty close to you. So I kind of saw that on the signs overhead. The texture's kind of changing as I went underneath it. Draw distance is a little odd. I don't know if it's doing it automatically to try to keep frames up or if it's just something because it's early access, you know. That sign didn't do it. Force feedback feels a little bit different, a little bit sharper, getting a lot more fine detail. Whoa! What happened there? I don't know if we laid a tire out on the grass or what, but very weird. Oh, we're coming around that turn pretty good. Everything in the distance is looking pretty good too. Everything is kind of running pretty darn smoothly. I mean, I am noticing a little bit of a frame stutter when I'm coming around the turns and I look off in the distance. Everything kind of blurs out. You can tell it's kind of not really running at full 90 there. But it's not bad for the way it looks. It looks really good. Kind of reminds me of Project Cars. The distance of some items too. I don't know if it's a heat effect or what. I'm noticing like a hazing or like a... It's like a weird hazing effect on the backs of some items as they overlay in front of the sky. Something you gotta really look for. I mean, I don't really see the average user kind of noticing or caring about that. But you know, I'm trying to see what I can see. But overall, I do gotta say, it looks really good. So another thing to note is turned off the vehicle accidentally. A lot of the buttons are not being mapped to what I mapped them to. So you end up having to use like a D-pad or a keyboard to kind of get you to like this menu screen here, which you can't see, but this is the pause menu screen. So that way I can get out and back to the main menu. And that's just something with early access that they're working on right now. Overall, I do got to say it does look very good. I'm very impressed with their first, release into VR with this title. We are going to do a race in a second, but if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments here in the chat. I do have chat up. Of course, I can't see chat while I'm in VR, but I'll do my best to check on them. We're going to get ready, and I'm going to kind of like set up a race session in just a second, a longer race session. We'll see how the computer runs. We'll see if we run into any sort of issues with the stream, with the title itself. But yeah, if you have any questions at all regarding this title or VR, definitely let me know. If you are again, if you are a Windows mixed reality headset user, I don't know if any Vive owners have had this issue, but the menus being directly below you where you can't see them, revert to the beginning of this video where I talked about my settings that I used within the files, and you could actually get the directory again by going to Steam, Assetto Corsa Competizione, and look at their release notes. They tell you what file to go to adjust settings, and then just follow my settings, and that should fix your issue if you're having that issue where you can't see the menus in there off the screen below you. All right, so let's go back. Race view. We'll adjust some of these settings here. I know you can't see this menu, and that's a little frustrating to me because I want you all to see the menu. But it is what it is. We're gonna do a do a 15-minute no, we'll do a 10-minute race. We're gonna use starting position random. We're gonna use 20 cars on the track. We'll use that same Nürburgring Germany track because I want to see it, being that we've been using it. Like this weird sort of texture, this pole right in front of us. It's almost like, oh yeah, look at that. We are actually outside of the mapped area. So there's the Bentley Continental GT3. Let's see if we have, nope, no other teams. No picture for this driver. Try that. All right, and weather, of course, we will. I would like to be able to map like weather patterns. I don't know if that's going to be coming later on, so I don't have to only pick one or the other, or have a. Oh yeah, they have dynamic weather down below, but we don't have that available to us yet. And weekend weather recap. Okay. Actually, I want to put some clouds. All right, I apologize. I know you guys can't see that menu at all. That's a little frustrating. But so pretty much we're using the Bentley Continental GT3. We have maximum amount of cars on the track, and we're going to be racing 10-minute race at Nürburgring, and we have the cloudy setting on. We kind of set it a little bit later on in the day, and grid position random, so you can see they're starting us off at 10th. Well, you can't see because you can't see the darn menu. Sorry about that. Such a weird thing, you guys not to be able to see.
Alright mate, race is about to start. Hold your position until the green flag. Take it easy, turn one.
So the Bentley, wow, is vastly different than the Huracan in its interior. My gosh, it's so different, so much bigger. Feels like I'm driving like an SUV. actually kind of hard to see over the dash to see the track directly ahead because the nose is so big on this car. That mirror feels like it's so far away. So they have a speed limit on us. The tires are still really cold. They're all blue. Making me like, it's like holding my position here. It's not allowing me to go any closer to the car ahead. It's a very high level of AI control right now, and I'm not really liking that because it feels weird. I don't know if the car is stalling or what. It's kind of weird. Got my foot down right now. It's just, the car is bucking like crazy because of my input and the computer's input. And I do have the default setting on Pro. There we go. I finally got control of my own car. Oh, we got pushed from behind. Big hit from behind. Accidentally turned on my wipers there. Looks like we are now 15th. This car feels like a beast.
Yellow flag ahead. Watch out.
First time I heard him say yellow flag, so I wonder if they fixed that oversensitivity. Mowing down codes. See the headlights reflecting off the interior from the cars behind. mirrors are really clear this time.
Well done, mate. Personal fastest lap.
We don't have this weird mosaic pattern
Tight in front.
that we had on that on the first release site. I think we got him. Oh, this looks really good. Got a strong depth of field there on how wide this car is. Trying to look past the harnesses here around my head. Oh, we're 17th. I'm sorry, out of 21 cars. You know, we're far back. Everyone's ahead of us. It's running really smooth considering how it looks. And the fact that it's an early release. It's their first VR release. I mean, the menu system thing, I think that's probably going to get fixed. I would imagine so. Oh, too hot. Way too hot. We're just mowing everything down there.
Well done, mate. Your fastest lap so far. We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
Got him. You get a very distinct difference on how this car handles curbs compared to like the Lamborghini Huracan, which is very tight suspension, does not like the curbs at all. This one, it's a little bit more. You can do a little bit more with. Let's not mow everything down on the track. Moved up a few positions. The offline torque of this car. Sounds are great. I love hearing all that dirt being kicked up in the wheel wells. Getting a very slight stutter whenever a car's headlights kind of flash through my interior.
Well done, mate. Personal
The
best.
very split second that they first do that, I notice a slight stutter. But it's only for that first moment. Big understeer. That was my fault going after that turn way too hot.
Right, man. Leader is on the final lap. Give it all you can.
Gotta try to catch that Lamborghini at least. We're 13th out of 21. We would have done better if we weren't spun out right on the first turn there. Oh, look at that blue smoke.
Alright, the race is over. Good job, mate. You did your best. Bring it back.
That was
to the
weird.
pits. Well done,
Yeah.
mate. This has been your personal best.
Got a notification the leader was on the final lap. But yet, we finished right there. That's a little weird. Okay. Very strange. Okay. I like how it finishes and it doesn't just... It's not an abrupt sort of ending. We ended up finishing 13th. Much better than I thought we were going to finish. Hey, Protocol, how are you doing? Just Gene, what's up, Crash? How long did it take you to get this going? Took me 10 minutes of Googling. So, Just Gene, I want to ask, what problems were you having? It took us a good half hour, to be honest with you. I'm not as good. It took us a good half hour. We were having issues with our menu being directly below us and not being able to see the menus, as well as the title crashing out like crazy. It's constantly crashing due to, turns out, Steam VR Home Beta was actually causing it to crash. And I didn't really read any information on that. Just, I decided to turn it off because I noticed every time I was loading the title, Steam VR Home Beta would then load itself and then kick me out of the title. The title would just force crash. So I turned it off and now it works. Just finding the VR switch. Okay. You also turned off the HUD. So I do have the HUD on. Totem the Mole, yes, finally got it going. What motion rig is that? It is the Prosimu T1000 3 degrees of freedom rig. We did a review as well as some build videos for both, but we did a review video back when it was a 2 degrees of freedom rig. So now that we have the 3 degrees of freedom platform, we're working on the video for that. But definitely check that out. It's a very budget rig from France, and I love it. It's a very small rig. You can see here, we actually have most of it slid underneath my desk. It's a very simple VR implementation. Yeah, it does look good though. I do got to say that for its initial implementation, it does look good. I just do not like the menu issues that I'm having. Very frustrating menu issues that I'm having. Because you guys can't see the menu that's up right now. So right now there's a menu showing me that I was 13th place, the times of everybody, let's see. Yeah, so you're getting the lap time differential between us and the lead car, everything like that. You guys can't see any of that. So it's a little bit frustrating. Protocol, yes, please. Thank you so much. Well, actually, I can't even change the menu from here. So I want to try a rainy race, but I'm going to finally crack the wallet for the HMD. Nice, nice, good deal. Which one are you looking to get? So, Just Gene, yeah. You know, honestly though, if the menus would have worked from the time that I first turned it on without the issue from Steam Home Beta, I would have been streaming this a long time ago today. But with the issue with Steam Home Beta crashing it out constantly and the menus being unreadable because they were below me, I had to go on the Steam and read their release notes and their tips on how to adjust certain settings within their, my documents, Assetto Corsa Competizione, config, VR settings, JSON file, that location. And I had to just tweak things until I got it working. But now, unfortunately, I can see the menus, which is important, but you guys can't see anything. Right now, there's a menu right in front of me, right in front of my eyes, that you guys can't see at all. You just see the garage. So, that's a little weird. Oh, you're going to get the Oculus. I love the Oculus. Oculus is definitely good. Rainy race sounds fun. Yes, we're going to do a rainy race right now. I don't want to waste too much time, but if you have any questions about this setup or anything like that, definitely leave them in the comments there. I'm going to, in just a second, kind of set up this race. Let's set up this race here. So, yeah, quick race. Again, we'll do a 15-minute race. And they use medium rain. I think that will be pretty cool. Everything for the Vive was right up your nose. Yeah, so you're going to have to go to that file that I was just talking about, and you could actually set the distance for everything. You could kind of push everything out a little bit. That's probably what you're going to have to do. Hey, Just Gene, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll catch you next time. All right, so let's jump right in to this session here. And again, we got 20 opponents, so that's going to leave us with 21 cars on the track. We got medium rain. Pretty good. Let's see. We'll see if the wipers are actually running by default. They may or may not be running. Oh, wrong. Pretty neat rain effect there. It actually looks really good. You could get a good sense of depth of the rain. Doesn't look inappropriate on the headset at all. It actually looks pretty good.
start. Hold your position until the green
Alright,
flag.
so I had
Watch
it
out in the first corner. Alright, we have some wet conditions. Remember that curves are slippery and watch your braking distance.
So I had to turn on the wipers. They actually are gridding us as second. So with the rain on, it does get very mosaic-ish and kind of hard to see. Oh, that's pretty cool. You can do see the water sort of running across the windshield with the wind. Depending on which way you turn also, kind of moves around. That's pretty cool. I like that. You got 3 settings for windshield wiper speed. Oh! Just got turned around by the AI. I think I might have cut across while I was looking at the windshield wipers. See if they'll actually catch up. We might just restart this session. I don't see any of their cars coming. Yeah, that's going to create an unfair advantage. Let's just restart this here.
Alright mate, race is about to start. Hold your position until the green flag. Take it easy in turn 1. Alright, there is some rain in this session, so watch out for slippery curves and remember to brake early.
Alright, so let's pay attention to our line. Let's not cut across the AI. Does look really impressive though. I'm very happy with their implementation so far. It makes me very hopeful for the future. It really does. Because this is actually looks really good. The rain effect is pretty cool. Trying to hit up the brakes a little bit. My brakes are bright blue. There we go. Now they're starting to turn green a little bit. Get some heat in them. Looks like our tires are already pretty heated up. Ready to go. Hopefully we don't get spun out. I can see the lights. I saw it turn green. That was pretty cool. See the Audi trying to cut in front. Trying to leave him enough room. AI is actually running a lot more aggressive in the rain than they were from the first release. It's good to see. Because in the rain they were kind of like a pushover. Oh. Could not keep up with them through that sector.
Yellow flag ahead. Be careful.
We have like no grip. So far, we are
Well
fourth.
done, mate. Your fastest step so far.
That didn't work out at all. Oh no! Get out of the way. These cars are pushing on me. Well, so now we're at the back of the pack. From fourth place to last place. Look at that. That was my fault though. I was trailing too close to that Ferrari and I ended up tapping him and I lost it.
Yellow flag, be careful there.
Alright, at least we're not last place. So far, everything is working pretty smooth. I really have no complaints so far. This would normally be really rough to run in like Project Cars 2. Rain, all these cars, basically all the graphical settings maxed. Except for motion blur turned off. I am noticing the textures of that Audi popping in and out. So I don't know if there's something dynamic going on within the title. We try to keep frame rate as high as possible, but I can see that texture right there coming in and out. You can actually see the livery popping on and off of the car. Kind of hard to tell, but you know, unless you know what you're looking for, but
we are at the halfway mark. Keep pushing. Yellow flag, be careful there.
I think as cars are going through that hairpin up ahead,
Fastest lap of the race, great jump man.
they are triggering the yellow flag response from the from my crew chief. So I'm glad it's not as sensitive as it was last iteration of this title. Trying to use every inch of this track. We just slid right off that track.
Yellow flag ahead, be careful.
Pulling away from that Ferrari behind us. There we go. There we go. Sixteenth now. From last place to 16th. We got a bunch of cars right there. I'm hoping we're gonna have enough time to really start doing some damage. Oh, don't understeer on me now. Lamborghini's starting to... thought he was on our tail for a second there. But he's not being shaken away, that's for sure.
Yellow flag ahead, watch out. Well done, Blade. Fastest lap of the race so far.
208.799 in the rain. Not too bad.
Alright man, the leader is on the final lap. Give it a final push.
Door to door. He's not letting up. Looks like 15th.
Alright, checkered flag. Good job. You did the best you could. Now bring the car back.
Oh, man.
Personal fastest lap.
All right. Woo. That was something. That was a lot of fun. Oh my gosh. Can't wait for the Ferrari. Hamsterix, how you doing? Oh, you guys can't see what's going on there. So yeah, we ended up getting spun out very early on. Well, we didn't get spun out. We spun ourselves out. We ended up hitting a car behind us. I mean, wow, I can't speak. We hit a car ahead of us. We were kind of trailing way too close. It ended up costing us basically our 4th place that we had at that point in time. And then we ended up getting basically passed by everybody, set all the way back to last place. We ended up fighting our way back to 15th. So at least we didn't finish in last place. I do gotta say, running in VR in the rain is just, it's an absolute blast. The one thing you notice though, and I'm sure it's because it's an early access, it is what it is, or maybe they're doing this specifically to keep rendering as best as possible, is a very close amount of texture swapping and texture filters kind of popping up on vehicles. And I didn't expect to see that so close. I mean, yeah, you could see that in the distance happening, but I was noticing, like, I could actually visually see it happening from within the headset on cars that were, you know, maybe 100 feet ahead, 50 feet ahead. I could actually see their textures popping up and down. Now, it wasn't so bad to the point where it would ruin the experience for me at all. I was still having a blast in it, and I still thought it looked really good. But, you know, I didn't expect the textures to start popping up and down so close to where we were. You could see me trying to take that Ferrari on there. He ended up hitting behind us. Almost spun us out, but we saved it. I like these views that are kind of off track a little bit. You feel like you're a spectator. Now there is spectator cameras you can adjust. We're on spectator camera 5 from within the .basin files, the VR settings in the config file. So there's other cameras we can adjust to. You can see that we are having some stuttering here. Now it might be because we have our Windows Mixed Reality headset off, and it doesn't like it when you take the headset off at all. It actually starts, it will throw like, they'll try to put it in sleep mode essentially. You can see there's no one coming because I think it's probably when we got spun out. Is that? Yeah, because those are the first 3 guys. And now it's, now the replay is like struggling to focus on whoever. So this is the official replay here, and we can focus on a certain car. Trying to figure out how to change the view. The button I would think would be for changing the view is not actually working. Well, there we go. Okay. This is the lead car. That's us there. Okay. Alright. Pass this forward a little bit. You can see all that. That's a cool view there from within the helmet. The helmet is like freaking out though. It's popping in and out like crazy. Spectator view is actually a little bit better within the headset. You actually feel like you're a little bit closer. There we go, fighting for third there. And let's see when we actually spun out. There we go. Alright. I like that. You could like reverse with your downshift, and it like brings you back like in chapters almost. Well, there we go. That's where we hit them. And unfortunately, then we just faced traffic, and there was nowhere for us to go because we're blocked in at this point. So I tried that. You know. Oh no. And that vehicle was fine. So yeah. That worked out too good for us. But overall, I do gotta say I know it's a simple implementation. Now I know they built this title around it also having VR support, so it's not gonna be too crazy, but I'm happy with it so far. As a VR user, as a VR enthusiast, I'm really happy with it so far. Amstrix, so yeah. Any thoughts on ACC physics? So far, I am liking ACC's physics. The force feedback is getting better. The first release, it felt muted. It was strong. It was very, very strong. And I do like strong force feedback. But it felt a little muted, like you lost a lot of the fine detail that you would find in other titles. Overall, this release here, the force feedback does feel a little bit better. I don't know if it's placebo effect. I'm assuming they did some force feedback sort of fixing, because it feels like it. Definitely feels like it. The physics of the vehicles themselves, it is a challenge. If you put it in pro mode and you just drive it in pro mode, you do have to make sure that you heat up your tires beforehand. You try to stop on cold brakes. It's next to impossible. So, you know, there's those aspects of it, and then the handling physics of it. It feels close to what Assetto Corsa was like to me. I do gotta say the Huracan is a little bit easier to drive in this title than I found in Assetto Corsa. In Assetto Corsa, I just always had issues with that car, and it might just be the preset setups that they have in this title. In this title, they do have some preset setups that you could just roll with, and kind of, you know, helps you out straight out of the gate. Whereas in Assetto Corsa, you're given the vehicle, there's a base setup, but a lot of them are not great at all. A lot of them kind of suck, and you have to go on your own, try to find the setup. So that might just be it, because, you know, comparing apples for apples, I do gotta say some of the things I look for the car to do, you know, with sliding, understeering, you know, if I overdrive the car, what is it gonna do? It feels appropriate, but then I am noticing that the cars are a little bit easier out of the box to drive, and I think it has to do with the fact that, you know, the setups are actually pretty decent. So, you've played for 19 hours straight. You can't go back to another sim now. You love the weight and the braking distance. Feels real. Yeah, and, you know, that's the hard part for me. You know, when I try to judge a sim title on physics, it's like, what do you judge it on unless you have actually been in it? So it's like, it's hard for me to make that connection. You know, I could compare, for instance, Project Cars 2. They have a Camaro ZL1. I own a Camaro ZL1, so I can compare the two, and I do not like the Project Cars 2 implementation of the Camaro ZL1. I think it's an absolute mess. It just slides everywhere, and that's not how the car drives in real life. So, you know, I can make that comparison because I've been in it. I've driven some stock cars and racing experiences where you're on the track for, you know, 20, 30 minutes by yourself, and you have a crew chief kind of, you know, telling you what to do, and it's a small oval. So I know what those feel like, kind of. You know, I've never driven them more than that experience. So, and I've driven some Lamborghinis, again, in autocross experiences where you kind of, they let us go flat out, but it's a small autocross experience. So, I don't have experience in GT3 cars, so it's hard for me to tell you exactly what the steering feel is going to feel like or anything like that. But according to me and according to how I feel things in iRacing and Assetto Corsa, normal Assetto Corsa, not ACC here, it feels good. I really like how it feels physics-wise, but and steering feel, I think they've tweaked some things because it does feel better. It's not the best feeling in the wheel yet, but it's appropriate, and I like it. I like the steering weight, but I'm just very excited for this title. I'm a little bit of an Assetto Corsa fanboy, but I'm not going to be biased in any way. I'll tell you if something is completely horrible and is completely rough. I do agree the VR implementation is decent at best because you have to make adjustments in the menus for some of us VR users. Now, like some people here, they have an Oculus, and they were able to just jump in and use it with no issues. For me, when I first jumped in on we did a stream earlier, you know, it's just basically me figuring out that we're having issues here, so I'm not going to post that video, but in this menu here, normally you can't see it, I can see it in the headset. There's a menu in front of us, and it's still, you know, you could turn your head and the menu's just going to be there like a television. Well, the menu was actually here. It was right below us on the floor, and all the HUDs and everything like that were out of the vehicle, under the vehicle. And so everything was completely unusable. I had to kind of guess and push the A button until something worked. And so that's unacceptable. And they did give us a location to the config file so we could adjust things. I was able to do so, but now you guys can't see the menus, which is okay. I mean, you kind of here to just hear me rant and talk and whatnot and see the driving and get an idea, you know, on how I feel about it or whatever. But, you know, I can't show you things in menus, you know, and so I think that's just with this early access. Maybe that's just a problem with this one here. That's the only way I could get the menus working is to put it in menu type 2, where it's locked to the headset. But like I said, now you can't see it. So I'm glad we have VR implementation, and I'm never going to down a title for doing VR implementation as long as it's acceptable in the gameplay. And in the gameplay, the experience I had was actually a lot of fun. It's just figuring out that we were having issues and how to resolve them kind of stunk, and I don't like to see that. Let's see. Gamer Muscle seemed to think it may be that ACC may be doing things having cross-platforming in mind. What do you mean by that as far as the VR? But either way, and again, Rhino's Race Room, hey, thank you so much for joining in. But, you know, other than that, I am glad that we do have early access because, you know, like every other title right now, they could have, I mean, they are doing, a lot of titles are doing early access, but they could have just released a title when they were done and not listened to any of our inputs and just gave us what they would have given us, and we would have had to have lived with it. And that would have been like next year sometime. So it's awesome that we're early access, and it's a part of early access that you're going to have to live with some growing pains and some issues. It is what it is. We did it with Dirt Rally. We did it with other titles. We're doing it here. So, you know, it's, you know, where do you complain and where do you accept the fact that it's an early access? And I think this VR implementation, everything that I'm saying that's a problem is simply because it's early access. I don't think these are going to stay this way. I think things are only going to get better. I am in this implementation. I was glad to see how everything visually on the track, and that's how I'm really going to try to judge this, because I think with early access, the menu issues, yeah, we fixed them. It is what it is. it works, right? But how does it work on the track? And that's what's most important. I think that's what they're trying to show us here. The issue that I had on the track was simply just you could see textures popping in and popping out. Now, again, our system, we are running an AMD Ryzen 2700X overclocked, and then we're running a gigabyte aurous amp extreme 1080 Ti. It's not a weak system, it's a strong system. It's not a 2080 Ti, but you know, it is what it is. It's a good system. We do have all the graphical settings maxed as far as the options in the normal standalone title when you are not in VR. Then that normal one, we do have all the options maxed except for motion blur. We turn that off, so you kind of get an idea as to what we're dealing with here. I was noticing textures cutting in and out in the rearview mirror of the track. It was quite a distance away, but I could see it because in the Samsung Odyssey, the resolution is bumped up a bit, so you tend to notice things like that. So I did notice the texture bumping in and out in the background. When I would go around and turn, I would be approaching another turn. I would see the prior turn behind me, the whole track disappear, or some buildings in the background disappear. It didn't always happen, but I did notice that it was happening on occasion. The big thing that I noticed was cars that were ahead of me, not super far, but not terribly close, not at my bumper. I would say probably about 10 car lengths away. I could see their textures changing, and I could see their liveries like going blurry, then sharp, blurry, sharp, blurry, sharp. And it wasn't distracting because it's far enough away where it almost doesn't matter. And I'm sure if I sat someone here in my rig that's not a dedicated sim racer, not a dedicated VR user, they would have not noticed it. They would have been like blown away by this experience. But if you're doing this like we are here, you're going to notice that. And it wasn't annoying or anything like that, but that is a problem that I noticed. So I do got to say, when we gridded up on both times, dry track and wet track, the performance felt similar, which is nice to see because I know in Project Cars 2, that's not the case. In rain, huge impact on the system, especially graphical settings bumped all the way up. Very hard to run. In this, not so much. It felt similar. Frame rates felt very smooth. I don't know if we were reprojecting or not, to be honest with you. It just felt smooth, which was awesome. The grandstands looked very immersive. They were full, and it was very cool to see. Depth of field in the distance. There was some shimmering on some items that I noticed in the dry track. Whenever there was a building in front of an open sky, there was some shimmering around it. No big deal, but it was there. And I didn't notice it all the time. It was only on certain laps. But what else can we say? The interiors looked really good. I think the shading needs a little bit of work, the interior shaders. But I don't know if there's some trickery going on behind the scenes to try to maintain frame rate. And that's kind of what I'm wondering is going on with the texture swapping in and out, if that has to do with trying to maintain a certain frame rate. But yeah, overall, I do got to say, you know, for their first implementation of VR being released to us here, when I'm on the track, it was immersive. It was beautiful. The rain was really gorgeous. I let the rain pile up on the windshield. If you guys rewind the video back, you could see that. We let the rain pile up on the windshield. That way we could kind of get an idea of what the rain looks like piled up on the windshield and how it kind of distorts the cars in the background. And as you turn and the wind is going across the front of your car in different directions, you could see the water kind of shifting on the windshield. It was very neat to see. And then we turned the windshield wipers back on and it cut it all away. I'm happy. There are issues, and there are very, I think, somewhat simple issues that they are going to be able to fix for any other release. I think those issues are going to be addressed and fixed. I love the Bentley Continental GT3. I do got to say, though, it felt very easy to drive, and I don't know if there's some aggressive ABS setting on or whatnot, but it was definitely a lot easier to drive than the Lamborghini Huracan. And so I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit further But yeah, the torque out of that vehicle and the sound of the turbos was really, really cool. And I hope that came across on the stream here. I hope you all were able to hear that too, because I'm not, to be honest with you, as far as GT3 goes, I'm not a big Bentley Continental GT3 fan. I think that the car is just too big. I think it's huge to be on track, and I give it props for being so big and being able to hang with the other cars. But to me, it's just like, it's almost bloated. You know, I'm not a Bentley Continental fan, but I really enjoyed driving it and listening to that deep roar of that engine and listening to the turbos. That was fun. Personally, I can't wait for the Ferrari. I do like Ferraris. The Lamborghini Huracan was a lot of fun to drive. The AMG, hands down, that's one of my favorites. So, and the Audi R8 is another one. I just have too many, but I can tell you, as far as all of them, the Bentley is my least favorite, and I really enjoyed driving it today. I think if I jump back in, I might just jump back into the Bentley again. You really get a sense for how big it is, and inside that cabin, and just the off-the-line torque was just phenomenal. But yeah, if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the chat. Renyo says, I wonder how it works with a 2080. Has anyone you know of tested it? No. And if you look at some of the reviews out there, 2080 and 1080 Ti kind of run in a similar fashion. But you know, the 2080 and the 2080 Ti have the new what is that called? That new light filter. Wow. Ray tracing. So, and I know this title supports it, but I don't know if they released it yet, being that this is early access as far as the ray tracing support. So it'd be interesting to see if this is, you know, if you pop a 2080 or 2080 Ti on your computer, you could actually enable ray tracing in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I don't know if you can yet because it's still early access, but no, there's no one that I know tested it. I know just straight frame rate wise, the 2080 and the 1080 Ti are very similar. With ray tracing, I'm not sure. I kind of wonder in VR if the track and a lot of the surrounding items would look better. Ryan. Oh, Rhino. Gotcha. Rhino Race Room. Sorry about that. I apologize, mispronouncing names. The way that I talk sometimes, people swear English is not my first language. So, you know, don't be offended. I mess up things all the time. And English is my first language, just I just mispronounce things all the time, and I apologize about that. But I'm gonna call it here. I think this was a lot of fun. A little sneak peek into what they are doing, what work they are doing. We're gonna be doing some more videos. We are working on the Third Degree to Freedom platform review for this rig here. Definitely going to be revisiting the rig in general as far as a review. There's some things that I want to address that I think you all should know. And we do have other videos coming down the pipe. We do have our Camaro ZL1 that we're going to be doing some videos on as well. So definitely let me know if there's other topics you want to see. As far as Pimax, common question that I always get is, am I getting a Pimax? I'm going to be ordering the Pimax. I was not a backer. You know, way back when they announced their Kickstarter, I was there. I almost entered the Kickstart, but at that point in time, it wasn't appropriate for me to do so because I was moving cross country, so I couldn't do it. I wanted to, so we are not a part of the Kickstarter backers, so we're not going to be getting it soon. But as soon as Pimax releases their pre-orders and they open them up, we're going to try to jump in on that as soon as we can. So yes, are we getting a Pimax? Yes. When? I don't know. As soon as they allow us to do so, we will get one in our hands, and I'll be testing it with all the sims as much as possible with the motion rig, and we'll see how that works. So, oh, all righty, man. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. Hopefully this week is not too bad for anybody, and hopefully you all get some sim racing time in. Hopefully my voice starts feeling better. I'm going to try to drink some tea and lemon. We're losing our voice as we speak. Horrible. And I'll see you all next time. So again, I'm Crash. This is RTA Motorsports. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a great day.